Okay, I got 1 minute left.
Yeah, a whole big gallon.
Okay, I got 5 o'clock. So it is time to call the Munster Board of Parks and Recreation meeting for March 16th, 2021 to order. First item is public input. Anybody out there from the public who wishes to say anything? As I understand, there isn't, but if I'm wrong, let me know.
There was no emails ahead of time. We do have some other folks on the call. I believe if any of them would want to speak, this would be the time if they want to have any public input.
Okay, anybody out there want to say anything? Public input wise? If not, then we'll close that portion of the meeting. And we will move on to the administrative matters consent agenda. First item are the minutes from the last meeting on March 2nd. Anybody have any questions? I looked at them, they look good to me.
Look good to me too. I read over them.
I will motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. Next item are the vouchers. There's 2 and they're very small, relatively small, I guess. Any questions?
They look normal.
I have none. I'll make a motion to approve them as presented.
Second.
Moved and approved, or moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Reports, March board report. Mark?
Yeah, Mr. President, you have a board report in your packets. I'm going to go through and highlight a few of the items that are on here. After last meeting, we did inform Kurt Foreman about the change in the pop-up beer garden ideas. He came back and canceled all of them on us. So at this point, we won't have those. We have had an internal discussion with Indigo about potentially doing some other options out there. Contractually, it can't be the exact same because they had a contract with him. If we were going to have them, we would have to offer it to that individual, but the attorney for Indigo has advised us not to duplicate it, and which we don't intend to, but I think that there's some ideas where we can do some events out on the patio deck and out in the park there and kind of have similar events, but definitely not duplicate them.
Can I jump in with a couple questions?
Sure.
One of the first things on the board report is your proposal for surveillance. I can't speak today. Surveillance cameras at Centennial Park Clubhouse. And a couple of years ago, we had put cameras in the bathrooms at Community Park. And has that been kicked around? That idea had been kicked around at Centennial Park as well, putting the cameras in the bathroom facilities there along with that picnic area?
There are cameras that are there, not inside the bathrooms, but right at the entrance doors to the that little area where it kind of is an indentation to the men's and women's restrooms. And then there's also one on the flip side on the west side of the building by the door, which is to the storage in that middle building between the shelters. No cameras at the shelters, but there are 2 cameras on that building, and those do tie into the same system that we have a community that ties into the police department.
Perfect. Thank you.
Just in the report, the surveillance, I did mention that I have the proposal there from that same company to do that. That was in our bond issue as a project for this year. We wanted to hold off and wait for the structural report on the facility there before we make an additional investment to know hopefully the lifespan of the building will be sufficient there for us to add that.
My second question was just regarding the statement, and you may have this on the list to go over, was accessibility improvements for Frank H. Hammond Park. Since we just did some updates on that, do you have any information about what type of accessibility improvements?
The approaches to the track and leaving the track, the last time the track was repaved out there, they just went on top of the existing asphalt. So the two approaches, so where you would park in a designated handicap spot to go from that parking spot to get to the tennis courts, the pickleball courts, or the shelter is not an accessible route. So the approaches on both sides leading to the track and then from the track going back towards the tennis courts or towards the shelter or even that new playground equipment that's in the middle of the track. Those are the 4 areas that we're looking at additional accessibility improvements there. Repaving those to have a slope that meets the ADA requirements for that. That's what we're really looking at on the accessibility. And then there's also going to be a little bit of a segment to lead towards the tennis courts. And we're going to work, Kevin and I are working with updating a gate to provide a wider accessible gate, because right now it is not an accessible gate to the tennis courts. So we would add that and add a segment of pavement from that gate to that segment of asphalt that would go from the track towards the current pickleball courts. That's what we're looking at right now and getting quotes on.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We have a park attendant discussion. We'll talk about that later on in the meeting today. We did post today an internal opening for the vacant maintainer 2 position. That was something that was one of our goals for this year. That got posted today internally. We are working on our summer recreation guide. Building use permits, we did get some from the school town of Munster for summer camp and enrichment. So we're elated to have that. It'll be a little bit smaller, but at least it'll be some type of camp this coming summer to work hard on those details coming up here for us to put into that summer brochure. I wanted to highlight Joanne Sills, who's been one of our teenager bingo volunteers for about 20 years. She did just step down last week due to some health concerns, but she's going to be missed and she'll be hard to replace, but we want to thank her for all of her years of volunteerism with the teenager program through the bingo program part of that. 14 March rentals are scheduled in the social center. So our rentals at the social center are definitely picking up now as restrictions are loosening. We are up to 125 people as long as they social distance. So that's a good thing at the social center. We had new picnic tables delivered this winter that Kevin's crew has been assembling for us, so we can use those at different events. Kind of a good practice just to replace ones as they get worn and from moving them around from park to park at times. So we had to do that this year. We did complete some energy information administration reports for the landfill that were submitted. The methane generator was shut down due to a leak on the landfill. Shifting of the hill had created a crack in one of the lines. That has since been repaired by Cabino Environmental. They were out there in the snow. They had to get a snowmobile to get up to where it was at to get to where the leak was and get that repaired. But it was, at that point, the generator was back up and running for us. Breakfast with the Bunnies coming up March 20th. A lot of interest over at Centennial Park for that. They also are offering an Easter brunch. The golf course at Centennial did open on March 7th with the driving range off the mats only, and then March 8th, they opened up the golf course for the season. So we've already had, through March 10th, there was already 381 rounds, which is pretty good for this early in the year out there.
Is the cart fee number wrong? $16,000?
I think that also includes memberships to the cart fee. Andrew's on this call. I don't know if Andrew heard that on that figure. I believe that is that's cart fees plus memberships for cart fees for the whole year. So early in the year, that's typically when people are coming in and buying the memberships or buying the cart memberships. And I think that's where that number is reflecting that. Andrew, am I right on that?
You are correct, Mark.
Okay.
Thanks.
The course maintenance, they're doing some in-house trench work on hole 1 to fix the clogged drainage line out there, so that if you happen to get out on the course, you will see a little bit of work, but that'll help dry up an area that was kind of holding water on the course. And just today, we were informed that our golf pro Matt Mangetti will be moving on in a couple of weeks. At the end of the month, he'll be leaving us, and he's gonna spend more time coaching and I think making sure and trying to visit and get to see his son play, who's out on the tour a little bit. So he's gonna be leaving us. So Indigo will begin a search for his replacement, and that person will also take on some of the general manager duties as a little bit of the stuff that Andrew's been covering from the meantime since we last had a general manager out on site there. Other than that, any other questions on anything?
Well, Matt leaving seems like kind of a big deal, actually. When is he gonna leave?
I think it's the end of the month. Am I right on that, Andrew?
He's leaving the March 26th. Yeah, the last Friday of the month.
Are we gonna have an interim or somebody to replace him by then or no?
Well, we're bringing in, and as I took over the interim GM, I'll be the interim running the golf course, and hopefully within a couple of weeks, we'll get a replacement for him. We're looking at some other PGA professionals that are interested. That it's a beautiful place, so we don't think it's gonna take us long to find a replacement there.
Okay, I hope not. Anybody else? Any questions?
Nope.
If not, we move on to the items for discussion, and I guess, I don't know if we need to amend this or not. As I understand, we want to add to the item to consider resolution 2021-03, which is the park attendant position. And at the same time, we want to remove resolution 2021-02, which had to do with the park rules. So we're going to table that until next time and add something in its place. I'm not sure we need.
You were fading in and out there, Dave. If you want to you were breaking up. I don't know if you were looking away from your mic. It might have we lost your volume, I think, on some of that.
Yeah, I think he moved away from the mic.
We're on items for discussion. And as I understand, one of the items for discussion is no longer an items for discussion. We're going to take it off. That's 2021-02 resolution which deals with park rules. But then we want to add for consideration 2021-03, which is the attendant position at Centennial Park. Everybody hear me? I'm not sure that we need a formal motion, but I'm just saying that we're amending the items for discussion.
Okay.
Okay, with that, then the first item is the cricket pitch request.
I'm going to, this is something that came to me that first came from residents to the town council meeting a few months back. And I've met with Sri, who's on this call here today. They put together this little YouTube video. It's about a 3.5-minute clip. I'm going to play that now, and then we'll present some discussion here. You guys can all see that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
with that, I also have this graphic that I shared with you in your packets too. And after discussion, we met out there a couple times out in the park. And I wanted to bring it to you guys to see if you want us to continue to pursue this. We're at the point where it'll cost us a few dollars to have some evaluation here, but assuming you're in favor of this idea, I'd work with SCH under their hourly contract with the town to seek a high-level review and to assemble a preliminary cost estimate to bring back to you at that point. At that point, you can decide whether we pursue the project. If so, at that point, we'd get a formal proposal from SCH as a design and construction services proposal, and which would also help outline that scope. On the graphic that I wanted to show you, my main concern is when that park was developed, and you see the black and white that's on the diagram as it was developed as and laid out as soccer fields.
Yes.
The idea of where literally the green section that says cricket pitch would be the actual pitch of that 74-foot by 12 feet wide pitch area, but yet the green circle around that is roughly the 450-foot diameter that is the play field for cricket. That's the entire play field. The blue area that's shown there above the words cricket pitch there is a drainage swale between that the soccer field that currently is running north-south and the one that runs east-west. So that's where I definitely would want to ask SCH if we, it's not a substantial drainage. It's from the aerial maps, you can almost barely see it, but it's definitely that the soccer field that runs north-south is crowned, and it does shed to the west and to the east and into that area. And then from there, it kind of runs out to the north and south where there's drain collectors out there. So, but assuming that you'd want us to continue to move in this direction, I think the residents that are on the call today are here to show their support for it and could answer any questions if you had anything. But otherwise, I think that's kind of, I think you get the gist of this. And I think the biggest thing that they've also shared with me is that, they don't want to take away from soccer in any way. Soccer, I've also had a discussion with them about this, and we've shared this with the Munster Soccer Club. They currently are still using White Oak and Stewart Parks because they believe there's not enough parking out at this site for all of their fields to be here at once. I probably disagree with that, and they could stagger their times to make it accommodate things. But if they're not going to use them at the full force of the amount of fields that are out there, I think it does allow us to have the opportunity to add a unique feature to our park system, not only unique to Munster, but really unique to all of Northwest Indiana. I think it would be the only cricket pitch out there in this area, in this region, if you will.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I guess this question is to Mark. So my first question was, how is it impacting soccer? And then I guess your second part of your conversation was Munster Soccer isn't using these fields because they don't need them, or they don't want them?
Their current numbers, at least, are this season, for instance, they will only be using 3 fields. Can you guys see my cursor?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're only really going to be looking at one of these little small fields, and they're going to put one of these middle-sized fields, they're going to put in this area, and then they're going to use this field. That's all they're going to use this coming spring, for instance. So part of that is the size field that they have at White Oak would be one of the sizes of these big ones. These are basically high school fields, or what they call a U14 level. That's what those 4 are there for. I think when this complex was built, it allowed for growth, and right now the growth, probably due to COVID for sure, the growth isn't really there for them at this point. They're pretty minimal.
Mark,
But,
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I know we had drainage issues over there in the past. How's the drainage over there?
This blue line is where it's meant to go. Well, most of these soccer fields are pretty good. And it's been graded where it does drain towards the outsides of the fields. The big change is this soccer field here that is laid out when in the design and built as an east-west field. There is room to kind of squeeze it as this yellow box goes here, and that's what you saw in the cricket video. That was kind of their suggestion, was that You know, you could make this pitch, which the pitch is the only real thing that's permanent, if you will. Everything outside of this green box area, and again, and this isn't definitely not to scale, but everything outside of that is no different than what would be a soccer field. So, you know, they can overlap here. Then it's just us to coordinate between use of soccer, if the need is there, and then if there's use for cricket, that you know, that we just coordinate that use. If we laid out this field in the yellow box diagram, and the permanent goals were more at the north and south end, you can see there's still plenty of room in the green circle to consider having, you know, the dual use out there without having to move goals in the middle of.
So is this going to be used, for some league or just entertainment? And how many people would be coming there?
Well, there's already
So,
been.
can Mark, do you want me to answer that question? So we did some market
Yeah.
research, kind of understanding the demographics. So we, Anil's here, so he had some data as well, you know, which kind of, you know, we're looking at currently about 3% of our Munster community, putting all the, you know, Indians and, you know, some
Right.
of the other Caribbeans. So we also want to, you know, further take this to a level where we are teaching the kids and doing some training classes and so on, so we can teach the next generation to learn the game as well. So I just wanted to chime in there and answer that question. So it's not a current league, but we do want to, you know, go to that level once we, you know, figure out all of the numbers. But right now it's mostly the, you know, the parents and maybe, you know, the college student of their parents, right? So those are the people who are currently part of it. And we have the whole kit, you know, we invested, we basically put the money pool and then bought all of the equipment that we needed.
How
But
many,
we do want to
how
get
many
to-
are you talking about?
No, this is Anil. We are on an average. This summer, past 5 summers. I mean, past 4 summers we have been playing, and given day we are around 15 to 22 people. So basically, we need 11 people to play.
That's the people who play. But I just want to, you know, I don't know if you guys see my screen, but we have about 100 people, 120 in a chat group, you know, depending on who's available. Right now it's a WhatsApp group. So we just kind of put in the game time, and, you know, because if there's soccer, you know, we can't really play, or, you know, something else going on, we can't really play. So we kind of send out that message, hey, this weekend, this time, you know, it looks like it's open. So I talked to some of the, you know, soccer coaches to see if they're actually playing there. If they're not, then, you know, you kind of get in there. So typically about, you know, 15 or 20 people are available. So if we do it more scheduled way, if we have a permanent place, I think, you know, there's a potential for a lot more than what we currently have. In a WhatsApp group, I see, Anil, I think you're the admin on this. I can't tell,
Yes.
That's more than 100 people right now.
Yeah, we have more than 100 people around.
Is it a weekend? Is it something, is it weekend, or are you talking about
Yeah.
every?
Yeah, we play sometimes weekdays and weekends both.
Yeah, but, you know.
How's the
given-
parking over there, Mark? I know it's a small parking. Is the parking fine with that?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of parking. You have this
Okay.
whole section, and then you also have this whole section. So there's,
Right.
it's so tiny there. I think that says 217 spaces in that parking lot is what I counted at one point. Let me see if I can,
It's 217.
217?
Yes.
what I wrote.
Okay, that's good. That's a good amount. Well, you know, personally, I think, you know, if we could bring people to the community and maybe they'll go to a restaurant or whatever afterwards, or, you know,
Hi,
I
this
think
is-
that's a great international sport to bring the community to expand our offering to the public. I think it would be great, you know. I think to look into the cost, I think is, you know, essential. But that's how I'm looking at it. I don't know what any other board member thinks.
I just have one question, because you may have to teach me cricket because I don't know how to play. But is there any a time when there's that lime green circle around the outside? Does I don't know, the ball, the whatever it's officially called, I don't know, and I'm ignorant to that. But does that object ever make it outside that lime green line, like to maybe go onto the soccer fields? Or, I mean, I'm trying to understand it.
Yeah, so firstly, let me address that. So, board members get a free pass for the cricket game. So
You don't want to. I'm bad at golf, so I'm just curious.
I would like to give it a whirl, It's kind of like baseball, right?
Right.
Babe Ruth tried it, but they didn't pay enough for him to, go and try. So he actually, and to answer your question, the ball does roll out, but we don't expect that the games will be scheduled at the same time because as you can see, the green line actually extends into the soccer field. So you're not going to play when somebody else is, using the soccer field.
Right.
So
How does the ball compare to a baseball? I mean,
It is
harder, softer, bigger, smaller?
yeah, it's the same, almost the same size, slightly smaller. We actually play with a almost hard tennis ball. It's like that feature. But a real cricket ball would be, harder than a baseball. I actually coach baseball too, so just so guys know, I've been trying to work with baseball people, to see if we can actually get the turf thing. I know Mark has mentioned it. Maybe there's another way for us to, source some of the material for building so we can do it for cheaper. I'm also coordinating with some of the soccer parents, so, one of the coaches to see if we can actually, agree to some sort of schedule that we could share with each other.
So one more question though. So as I understand it, the green pitch portion, that's artificial, right?
Yeah.
Artificial
is.
grass, kind of like the football field, that kind of turf? Is that what we're talking about? Munster football?
The green pitch, yes.
Yeah, that's artificial, but everything else is natural grass.
Correct.
Okay.
Hey, this is Mike. Quick question. I like the idea. I think it's a good idea. I bringing some, sports that people are not used to. I think it's a fantastic idea. I just have a question. Do you think this is something that we could, the Parks Department, we offer classes, and do you have any resources for coaches that maybe we could implement maybe some classes through the Parks Department to get some utilization out of these?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually talked about that idea too, is to have some of the parents volunteer to teach not only their kids, but anybody else who's interested in, pursuing the sport.
I'll
Yes.
be very interested in teaching. That won't be a problem. My name is Dr. Chandra. And I'll be very happy to teach. Very, very happy.
And is this also like a female-friendly sport? Are you looking to teach your
of course,
daughters?
we have-
And
Yes. The there's the whole countries who play the Indian women, the women cricket, and they have all World Cups and everything for this game.
interesting.
I think it's something
I
to
like
bring
it.
to the community. I think it's a big plus. I know we have a large Indian community, and it's great if they could teach us, a sport that, we could expand our horizons. I think a question I always had from the beginning was the drainage. We spent a lot of money in the fill to put in there to get that drainage. I would say go forward to see what the cost would be. That's what my thought process is.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great idea. We got lacrosse and, the only thing left, I guess, is rugby, and then we got the whole world covered. So I think it's a great idea. Yeah. Rugby, you got to be a tough guy to play.
I agree. I think it's a great idea, and I think we should absolutely get it bidded out.
Yeah, let's check it out. See what we can do.
Well,
Great.
hearing that, I will talk to SCH, Jill as the town engineer, and we'll work with their landscape architects and do a little bit of research. And like I said, they'll do a high level review on under their hourly rate with the town, and kind of come back with a cost estimate. Once we have that, we'll present that to you again at a later meeting. And I assume at that point, we'll also have a proposal from SCH to then actually consider the formal design and to take us through the construction phase, should we desire, and be receptive to their proposed budget projections that they would have to build this for us.
Right.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks
I
a
want-
lot, you guys.
Yeah,
And
thank you for coming.
we're gonna hold you to teaching us how to play.
Yeah.
Absolutely, no problem.
Okay, thank you for coming.
All right,
Absolutely.
thank you, guys. Thank you, we appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening.
Hey, Mark, we're gonna jump off then. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening,
Thank
guys.
you, guys. Thank you.
All right, next item, Little League request for a parade.
You're fading there, Dave, again. I'm not sure if you were
I
talking
said,
or not.
Little League request for the parade. We didn't need to take any action on the last one, right? We're just gonna go ahead and see what it costs.
Yeah, I'll take care of it. I don't think we need, unless you guys want to put it on the record and have me direct me, but otherwise, I just wanted to kind of get your feel for it, make sure that it was something I thought it was very worthwhile. I think it's something that would be pretty unique. And again, I mean, I think that that's always something that we can hang our hats on in town to make something unique and different, that's different than many other communities around us, so.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, with that, then the next item is the Little League request for parade,
No,
basically from the pool to the ball fields.
Yes, Mr. President, you have in your packets is a letter from Munster Little League. I'm going to share it here on your screen. This is also the town special events permit that we asked them to fill out, and that they're requesting to do a parade on their opening day, which this year is slated for Saturday, April 24th. It's actually, they wanted it a week later, but that would conflict with our car show, so they bumped it up to the 24th, a week before the car show. Basically lining up in the pool parking lot and going down Lions Club Drive in the park, as you can see here on this diagram that's on the screen now, kind of finishing down there by their A field.
Approved.
Taking about 30 to 45 minutes. This is one, there'd be two approvals. Your approval would be pending approval from all the other department heads for that special events permit. So I just wanted to bring it to you, make sure that we have that. It's a little bit different than the
Motion to
typical
approve.
requests.
Approve.
Motion to
Second.
approve.
Second.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Approved.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is off the table, which is resolution 20.
So we're not doing that.
So let's go.
Dave,
gonna
you're going in
table-
and out again.
Pardon?
You're going in and out again.
You're
Like when you're
kidding me.
looking,
I'm
No, when-
staring right at it.
when you're looking at the screen, we can hear you. When your face is down, we cannot.
Okay, I'm sorry. The next item is off, which is 2021-02. So let's put in 2021-03, which is the position at Centennial Park.
Yeah, we got the pool proposal here too, Dave, we jumped over. I'm gonna let Jill jump on.
I was just substituting, but okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
Sorry. I think Jill is on the call, yep.
All right, opening for the pool this year, we would like to do the Saturday before Memorial Day, just like normal. Instead of going through Labor Day, we thought that we would end August 8th, which is pretty much the weekend before the kids go back to school. Per the previous managers that we've had on staff, the weekdays and then the weekends when the kids go back to school, it's just really not well attended. The weather's not great. People are back in school. They're back in their motion. They're playing sports. They're, going away for the last weekends of the summer. So we just thought it would be best to close a little bit earlier to save maybe a little money that way. And then the only other real change that we made was hours of operation, where we thought we would close more so at 6 instead of the 8 o'clock. The managers also did see that there really wasn't many people there between 6 and 8 p.m. This gives us an opportunity to start rentals a little bit earlier in hopes that we would have more coming in so that we could begin rentals at 6:30 instead of the normal 8:30. I'm going to leave it up to you guys. I know it says here in the proposals to leave it open to Munster residents only, and I did that only because that's what you guys chose when we last spoke. Personally, I think we could do it carefully and really good by offering it open to the entire public. But again, I will leave that up to you. We will continue with the social distancing markers that we had last year on both the slides on the ground. We'll social distance out the lounge chairs. We'll put markers out on the cement out by the admissions office. We're thinking that we can open up the locker room safely this year with no showers. We are looking to do swim lessons. Abby reached out to local aquatic places and they shared that they did swim lessons last year with face shields. So that's how we would go ahead and conduct lessons this year. We would follow the correct protocol for if staff was to show any symptoms or contract COVID. So we're just kind of looking for some feedback. That's kind of what we thought. We're hoping to have a way better season this year. Obviously, we can have more people in the pool, and we think we can do it very safely as well.
I mean, Mr. President, my personal thing, and I talked to Mark, we had an opportunity to be at a different meeting on this. And it was shortly after the federal government said that everyone should have shots by May 1st. And, you know, they moved it to 45 and up now. I mean, I'm of the opinion you just let the pool staff determine the crowd sizes. And I would imagine there would be some restrictions being lifted on sizes and let them, you know, whoever wants to come swim. And at that point, quite honestly, I think everyone that wants to have a shot, and that's up to their total opinion, is going to be to be able to get one. And if you don't get a shot, it's sort of like people that come to the pool when they're not feeling well. It's not really much we can stop them from doing that. It's going to have to be an adult decision. So that's just my 2 cents on the matter. I think at this point, if we're looking at opening just before Labor Day or Memorial Day, I think everyone who's going to be vaccinated is going to be, they're going to get their shots by that time. And if you don't, then that's a decision you make as a grown person.
Well, I think you're right. Maybe not the kids vaccinated, but grown persons will be.
Well, and just, maybe knock on wood, maybe good fate, but I know someone at Elliott that said they've only had, well, Ron, you're here, your school board, they've only had one instance of a COVID illness from a kid since November. I don't know if that's true, false, or folklore. So,
well, I can't recall. I get notified when there is something. I can't recall those numbers exactly, and I don't know what.
It's not prevalent, is it?
I mean, we were fortunate enough so far, knock on wood, that we've been hanging in there. But I think it's a great idea, the 6:30 maybe rentals. You think Jill, that's going to catch fire a little bit? That's intriguing, because I know at the end of the day, it's pretty dead over there. And if we can get some rentals, I think that's additional income, which I think is a great thought, whoever had that idea.
Yeah, and especially for those birthday parties that don't want to do it during regular hours. I mean, it's a good option for them to bring in their own kind of pod, I guess you can say.
Right. I think that would be popular. I don't know. That's what I think.
Maybe the board should have their own party after at 6:30. Rent it out.
There you go. We'll have our meeting. We'll have our meeting over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Our next meeting.
Well, our goals would pretty much be able to try to operate as normal as possible. Obviously, we'll follow whatever requirements are still in play from any governor's orders or the health department locally. We do expect, or I expect, masking to be in effect on the deck, and the lifeguards, and when they're not in their chairs or at their positions, that will be wearing them as well. But I think that, obviously it's going to be one of those, and what we've all learned is be ready for the curveball. Here, whatever could change, any variants or upticks, that we'll just have to be ready. But the biggest one is we wanted to try to get this to you today for your consideration, so we can make sure to, one, we've been telling everybody by April 1st, we try to have some direction. So we do get quite a few phone calls, but then we can also put the anticipated information that's before you in our summer Parks and Recreation guide, so everyone in the community can realize they can start signing up, which also helps disperse the signups, spreads them out a little bit. We don't want to get slammed in the office and have it within a 2-week period or 3-week period. That makes it very difficult to keep up with everyone, and also wouldn't, you know, that also kind of goes against the whole idea of social distancing and trying to spread things out for us. So
I would support her proposal.
I think Jill also very tactfully is getting us to, you know, talk about, you know, if someone from the outside of the town of Munster would be able to rent this. Am I correct, Jill?
Yes, anybody can.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for us to talk about, or?
I mean, if you guys can just, I mean, I think the only real thing that I would need approval from you guys is the resident, non-resident situation. I think I would hope that the days and times are okay, along with all of the
Yeah.
COVID protocol that we've previously done. So
Yeah, that looks good, the time.
it really comes to a comparison of what we did last year, Ron, that, you know, we did make it only Munster/Highland with our partnership with them. And just, you know, I think we've learned a lot in the last year through this whole process, and the numbers are getting better. And I think we're ready to move forward a little bit here and allow us to hopefully not take such a large loss this year financially, which obviously that does mean having some folks from, you know, who are non-residents who are going to pay more to use this facility help us out, and that's where some of our participation comes from. So
That was a sticker shock, the amount that we lost last year, to me personally. I thought it was a lot, but it was worth a try. But again, yeah, I don't want to repeat that again, obviously.
Yeah.
I think we're all on the same page. So do you need a motion or anything, or what do you think?
I think as long as you guys are all in favor of this, we're going to move it as normal. I don't think that we necessarily need any type of motion. I think this is what we presented is kind of the goals of where we're going to move forward to. Like I said, basically opening up for residents and non-residents alike, whether using our daily admissions, our membership admissions, group parties and everything that we typically would have in a quote unquote normal year.
No objections.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Amending part-time wage.
You're talking with your face down again.
Amending part-time wage schedule.
Mr.
Resolution
President,
2021-03.
Okay.
This never happened when I was the president, also I'm gonna say.
Well, I know, and by now the meeting would be over too, I bet.
That is correct.
Okay, Dave. Hey, everybody. Looks like we lost Mark because this might be a little hot topic. I don't think it has to be, though. So we had the joint session of the park board and the town council, and it seems like in most things, everybody had a different impression of how that conversation went. When I debriefed with council, there was a clear desire articulated to me that there was some quality of life things that needed to be taken care of. Not just enforcement of rules, not just police presence, but being out there, being present, and being invested in the maintenance of that park. So after that meeting, Lieutenant Brohlman, Mark, and myself sat down, took some time, talked about what each one of us heard in that meeting. And we came up with kind of a three-pronged plan. The first would be to codify the rules, get those posted out there. You know, that's, you know, first and foremost, let's all agree on what the rules are. The second one was Lieutenant Brohlman committed to have the police out there a little bit more visible at the beginning of the season, particularly at dusk when the park closes. And then with the understanding that if it happens, you know, if the need is there, that there could be a dedicated patrol later in the season on holidays or, you know, particularly nice weather days. But mostly that beat 3, the southern part of town. That person would, if there's not an emergency call elsewhere, would swing through at the close of every evening at the beginning of the season. And then the third was the hiring of some kind of park staff to be there after the daytime staff leaves. Now, I think, the time is kind of the essence, so this doesn't get rolled out as elegantly as I would have preferred. But the thought is that, these persons are going to be concerned with quality of life issues, right? So,
Dustin, I have to ask, what is these terms that your quality of life issues?
I'm just getting there, Mr. Sowers, if you'd allow me to continue. Thank you so much. So you go out there last year, the year before that, after 3 o'clock, you didn't see anybody. No one from the town was out there. The idea now is if you go out there after work for an evening stroll with your kids, you see someone with a Munster staff shirt, probably with a trash picker, and they're just picking up trash, being present, right? I think it was actually you, Mike, that made the point that there is more people in community parks sometimes than Centennial Park. And you're absolutely right. But there's 4 leagues of adults that have a vested interest in maintaining the privilege of using that wonderful park, right? So you've got eyes everywhere. And, sometimes things go a little sideways. That's life, right? That's human nature. You can't control everything. But you have a lot of people out there in community park who have a vested interest in keeping that park nice so they can keep using it. In Centennial, perhaps one of our nicest parks, there is no dedicated presence out there to maintain that park when probably most people are there. And that just seems kind of weird, right? I think if we remove the whole pandemic, the whole emotional part, doesn't it seem like we'd want to have someone out there during the most busy time of the park, just with like a Munster staff shirt, picking up trash, changing over trash barrels? Seems like a pretty, inoffensive, non-controversial idea. So how would this person interact with the public? This is not going to be the park pavilion police, right? We're not taking a person making 10, 12, 15 bucks an hour and subbing them into the tax squad, right? The idea is this person will be friendly, a friendly face of the Parks Department. I had some terrible jobs and some good jobs growing up. One of the jobs I had was for the state of Indiana, working at a state park, right? If you see someone doing something they ought not to, they didn't have arresting powers. I didn't have a baton or a taser. I was a kid, right, with a funny hat. And 9 times out of 10, when that adult was doing something they ought not have done, and I said, sir, I get where you're coming from. You can't do that here. They just said, okay, and they stopped doing it, right? And in the 1 or 2 times where they didn't want to do that, I just called the cops, right? I called the conservation officer, right? So we're not going to put this person in a position where they have to be the front line of enforcement on all these kinds of rules that we've codified. But it does help to have someone out there representing the town of Munster, taking care of one of our most visible assets. So that's the kind of thought behind this. It is one leg on a 3-legged stool. And thank you so much for your patience in listening to me.
I go to Wicker Park more than I go to Centennial because I live by Wicker Park. And my wife and I walk around the park and I play golf there a lot. And there are a couple of guys who are park people, Wicker Park guys, who are the nicest, cheeriest guys in the world. They drive around on golf carts. Sometimes I see the guy in the pickup truck and he's driving around the park on the walking path with his pickup truck, but they couldn't be nicer and friendlier. And I know they're just out there kind of keeping an eye on things. And I think from a public relations standpoint, it is an absolutely great idea. My only concern is that if we do something like this, it not be some teenager or some 18-year-old, unless it's a football player from some Big Ten school. But I think, you know, it's got to be somebody who's got a little years on them, or, you know, something like that. And I agree that it's not somebody who's going to write you a ticket, but the fact that they know that there's somebody out there watching, and but you're being nice by the same, you know, as the niceness of it all, I think goes a long way. So I'm in favor of it. I think it's a good idea. So there's my 2 cents.
Well, let's
Yeah, I
let's
like
take
the
it on
idea too.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
It's
Rob.
a good PR person out there, and then someone that's making sure everything's being kept up the way it is. And if there's any actual people smoking marijuana or whatever, that they can call the authorities and have it addressed. And then we can just get a reputation that you don't mess around over at Centennial.
I will say that, I'm sorry if I didn't mean to interrupt if you were not done, Robin.
Go ahead.
So I will say that I came away from that work study meeting with not at all the impression that Mr. Anderson has presented. So my impression of that, we spoke specifically about this hiring, and I believe that there were counterpoints presented, and those have not been reviewed that I'm aware of. I mean, you guys might have met separately. I guess I don't see the benefit of this. I don't. I was looking through the job description that Mark sent over, and it specifically has in there conflict resolution. You know, someone that's able to mediate, or I don't know if mediate was the right word. You'd have to go to your document, but it was resolve conflicts. I just think for specifically, this says $9.50 to $10.50 an hour park attendant person. I think that for us to put, if you're looking for someone to pick up trash, absolutely, I support it. But I get curious what you mean by maintain I forget your wording now, the quality of life. Like, I guess I just don't see the quality of life there diminished. I have, since I've moved over to this side of town, I walk over there almost daily. I haven't seen the trash. I haven't seen I haven't seen that. So maybe I'm walking on the wrong side of the park when people are doing that. But I guess I just don't see the point, because this doesn't seem like it's a PR thing, as Robin said it. It's someone that's there to resolve conflict. And I just don't see how a person that we're going to pay to do this, we should put them in that position.
Well, I appreciate your perspective. Having done this job as a young person, not even a Big Ten football player, Mr. Servin.
Well, it could be the SEC or something too.
Sure. You know, reasonable people can have reasonable opinions. If you know, it's perfectly it's a perfectly fine policy decision to think you don't need someone out there in that park. But I do think that maybe the salary could be a little higher. That's a topic of conversation. The council can set those pay ranges if you want to punt on that particular issue. So yeah, I appreciate where you're coming from.
Mark, this is Dan. Who picks up the trash now?
Well, that would be Centennial Maintenance when they're there.
Hey, you weren't speaking into your speaker. I didn't hear that.
Turn up your bell tone. I asked who picks up the trash now?
Centennial Park maintenance staff does.
Can you hear me now?
Also, when we're in the mowing, the landscaper, that's also part of their duties when they're out there, if they see it as well.
So is it similar to a community park where there's a set schedule that every Wednesday you go to the dugouts and you empty the trash cans, or is it every day, or is it every other day? I'm just trying to.
Our staff pretty much daily empties trash in Centennial Park.
Okay.
In Centennial Park. We don't do it that often in the neighborhood parks, probably once a week only, maybe twice, once it gets a little bit busier in the summertime. Community, we're there a few times a week. Again, it's based upon the use. I mean, once we're in baseball and softball season, we're going to be there a lot more at community.
Sure.
We will be almost daily there because concessions being open. But Centennial, even already this year, we basically have to be out there almost daily on those 60-degree weather days.
That's good. People are using parks. Second question, just asking, when you drafted this resolution, and I'm not sure who did it, I'm assuming one of our attorneys did it. Dustin, I know you were there and you said Lieutenant, who I can't remember his name, who was like from the park side from that meeting or that work study session that came or that was here as a part of implementation, just so I have an idea. Was it Dave or was it Mark? Was it who?
I was, Mark.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you my vote at this moment in time would be to table it, because if you told me I had to vote on this right now, I'd vote no. Because I don't think it's PR. I think I know what it is. And I know reasonable people can have difference in opinion, but I don't go to work study sessions and sit there for an hour and a half and come out with something that's different. I get it. The town council, I won't speak for all of them, I won't speak for any of them, have one feeling, because we came in initially with
And not
parking
all of the
meters.
town council.
Oh, wait, I'm
Interruption.
no, I said, I don't speak for any of them. But the initial phase was parking meters. That didn't seem to go over so well, at least I thought. So then the thought was, well, we really did have a problem with rules. And so we're gonna start with making sure all the rules were consistent. And that's throughout all the parks. And we even came up with that subject matter at the last time when they wanted to do beers in the garden. We didn't want to go out beyond dusk. And then, you know, I'm not blaming, I mean, things happened and things missed deadlines. And so then all of a sudden to be hit with a resolution, we're going to hire people because of an issue that we spent an hour on. And the only recollection that I had on my notes, and I had a conversation with a council person in the last day, was the only recollection of hiring anyone was to hire overtime for a quote, and this is my words, would be sort of like a bike patrol, which they go down the path. That's what I understood. So to be brought here now, I'm happy, by the way, on a side note, that we're finally getting that maintainer position. I don't know if it's coincidence that we want to hire 4 people now and a maintainer position, but that maintainer position has been going out vacant for the last almost year. So that's a good thing. So that's why I sort of asked who cleans these and what we got going on. So I won't make it a form of a motion, but I would prefer to table it to discuss this as opposed to amending it, getting a job description. Once again, not blaming anyone, an hour before the meeting and say, oh, well, then you just vote on it. That's just not how I deal with things. So that's my 2 cents.
Let me give you my 2 cents. I think we're at I sense that somehow, I think before we tackle something, I don't know if we know our mission here, what we're trying to do. And it appears that everyone in their mind has a little foggy on the mission, which I am a little bit foggy on the mission also. But I think in sense that when I look at that park over there, it's so unique in a sense that now we're going to have this Centennial project coming. You're going to have more restaurants. You have a hotel over there. You're going to have condos over there. Top on the other side, you have a golf course. You have a picnic area where you could, have a little party under the pavilion. And all of a sudden, in the middle of all of this, we got a bunch of 6-year-olds playing on some playground, okay, near a parking lot, which to me, a lot of times that spells danger to me, okay? And a little bit nervous. When you go to our other parks, your little local parks in your neighborhood, you have some swings. You know, I haven't walked in my park that's right down the street 3 blocks from me because they have swings in there. I haven't been in there in 15 years, okay? So those little areas like that, there usually congregates a certain group of individuals, the same type of group. Here, it's going to be, I believe, a lot of action, okay? In and out, in and out. The other thing is I'm kind of questioning and looking at, no one I think has the playbook because it hasn't happened and no one has that crystal ball. Last year was unique, okay? It was a pandemic. Things were open, things were closed. People were going to places that they normally didn't do. And I was looking at that in a sense that I hate to look at last year and start making tough decisions on something that, let's see how it plays out a little bit this year. You know, do we get back to what we consider normal over there? And I still think no matter what we decide, this is something we could change the next meeting. I mean, it's going to be etched in stone because we voted on this in March of this year. Therefore, we can't change it. And do we scale it down? Do we scale it up? But I always concerned about those young kids, you know, Mike, your neighborhood rides their bike over there. They drop their bike and they're jumping on all over. And then a lot of action coming in and out of there. For me, coming from the school side, more eyes looking over there, the better. If I have 20 parents out on that playground, I'm better off, okay? If I have 15 parents volunteering for a field trip, in my mind, I'm better off. I'm not saying, you know, to bring, you know, guard up and bring the police over there or anything like that. Just a set of eyes of employees. I hope the other employees who are working there are given instructions to say, listen, this becomes a little hectic over here. We want you to keep your eyes open. We don't want anything happening that that could cause the safety matter. I think it should be open to everybody, okay? But at the same time, I just think it's a tight area. We're putting a lot of things in a small area. And that concerns me. And the more eyes we have looking over there, I think it's just better off and I think for the children.
Well, that's my basic mission for what I'm looking for, is this, make it as safe as possible for families to visit. So I'm with putting in eyes, however we have to train it or dress it up.
Do you like
Okay.
it enough to make a motion?
Say again?
Well,
Excuse me?
I think.
No, wait a minute, time out. We don't need a parliamentarian. We're good.
I think.
Well, here, I will say this. I think I agree with Ron and Vikings rule, because I mean, I agree that a set of eyes, and I really do believe that, you know, a friendly face over there is not a bad thing. And this park is only going to get bigger, and there's only going to be more people. So it really, to me, some guy driving around, or gal, whatever, in a golf cart is not a bad idea. However, I also know that this was just presented to us within the last, you know, few hours. And so maybe some more reflection until the next meeting is in order as well. I mean, I think I hear that's what Dan's asking for. And Mike, I'm not sure.
And I totally respect that. Totally respect that.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, because
they could educate me.
Yeah. So
I'll
anybody
make a
else
motion
got
to table. I'm making a motion to table.
Okay.
I would second it.
All right. Moved in favor, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So as I have not heard any opposed, then it must be unanimous to table. Did you say opposed?
No.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna table this. So it is going to be our number one
But-
item. to talk- Go ahead.
But I think we need to know that whatever we pass, whenever we pass it, it's something that could be changed. If it's not working, we have to be flexible to that extent. But I think we need to do something. That's all.
Brian, I would just say that if someone presented an argument to me that made sense, I would absolutely hear that out. From what I took from that work study program, the comments that you made about the playground area, none of that was brought up. This was the comments that I remember from the town council were people not feeling safe.
Yeah.
quote unquote.
Well, I think,
And so
Mike,
that was a question.
yeah, Mike, and I think that's why I think we should table it. After that meeting, of course, I had some more thoughts about it and just looking at that, I did change my thought process. And I think I look for the children more so than probably anybody here. And I think maybe that's why by tabling this, maybe some discussion that would maybe open my eyes. Otherwise, I don't know. But I'm just saying, that's why I don't want to vote on it right now and do the same thing we did 2 weeks ago, okay? I don't think that's fair to the other board members. If they have a concern, totally, we need to get some ideas about it and come back and maybe reflect on this again. But yeah,
Well,
that's
would you like to
all.
have a study session on it? Us as a board?
Can I be
Before,
sarcastic?
Huh?
Can I be sarcastic?
You always are.
Okay, so we can have another work study session and come back with something that 80% of which we didn't talk about, but that's okay. So, I mean, it's to each their own, right? We all have our different perspectives, as some people say.
I feel like that's the crux of the issue that I have with this is that, this specific topic of having this person was discussed, and us as the board at that work study meeting, all of us said that that was not a good idea. And then right before a meeting, this resolution was like thrown at us. That's where my issue comes in at, is that it wasn't even discussed like, hey, we thought about what you guys were, said, here's some alternate solutions. This is just something from the town council. I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying
But
it.
Mike, you know what? My philosophy on the boards, when you have a voting power, sooner or later, it has to come to us. I don't care if it comes an hour before or 20 days before. If we're not ready, we don't move on it.
Right.
That we have that vote. So
Hey.
we have to appreciate that. That's why I'm saying, if some board members aren't comfortable with this right now, why shove it through by not until we discuss it further? And I think that's a healthy thing.
You're absolutely right, Ron. But I'll tell you this, I was reminded by a council person that they could go over the top of us anyways.
Right.
Isn't that right? Isn't that right, Dustin?
Well,
For sure they could.
I'm not a
That's right.
lawyer.
No, I'm sure.
Nor a parliamentarian.
Ron plays one on TV, and I'm sure they can. But
Oh, I know.
Look, here's the thing. We're gonna table this. So the question is, are we, Park Board, gonna have a study session where we can talk about it? Or do you just want to move on to the next meeting? And, we can't keep kicking the can down the road. It's got to come to a vote at some point in time. So I think maybe we all ought to sit down, us guys and girls, not the town council, and talk about it and decide, or at least hash it out and then vote on it. And the town council does what the town council does.
Yeah,
You know?
no. And Dave, I agree. I think we should. I don't like kicking things down the can. It doesn't matter to me which, what it is, as long as you're the most informed. And the funny thing is, we thought we were going to have rules to vote on, and we still don't even have the rules to the park. So, I mean, I think we need to establish rules before we need to establish anything else.
100%, I agree.
Why? We should hire somebody first and then make the rules.
So I'm all for having a work session or whatever, a Zoom session or however you want to call it.
Yeah.
I'm fine. That's fine.
All right, so how about we do that between the next meeting, which
Sure.
is April
Something.
6th. April 6th?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm good.
Yeah,
Yeah, just let us know. You know,
that's my wife's
preferably
birthday, so I won't have to take her out. So
That's
let's
a good
let's
excuse.
have
Good job.
in the
let's have a
evening,
work
correct?
let's have a work session before April 6th, okay?
That's fine.
Um,
Thank you.
Mark,
Kick some dates out. Just kick
Mark,
some
you want to
dates
send
out.
some dates out for that? We'll do it by
Yeah.
Zoom.
We'll email
Anytime.
everyone, coordinate and find a time.
All right, everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Is that how we're resolving this?
Oh, we
Yeah.
resolved it by
Yeah.
tabling it, but yes.
I would encourage everybody, just as a final note, since that work study meeting, I have made it a point to go out to walk over to Centennial Park. If not on the cold days, last couple days I have not, but certainly on all the warm days, walked over there, walked around, and I did not observe any of the things that were presented at that work study meeting.
I've been there to play
I
golf, and
thought
I've
the
been there a
garbage.
couple times too, and I agree with you, Mike. I didn't.
I
see
thought
any
the
of it.
garbage was very well picked up. I thought the garbage cans were all, they seemed to be well maintained. I walked around the lake. I walked around the clubhouse. All the garbage cans seemed to be maintained. It looked great. So
The problem,
I realize
Mike-
we're in the spring. So this is not the optimal time. I realize that.
High usage is summer and
Yeah.
I live right behind Centennial Park, so I walk there a lot and use it a lot and frequent a lot. And there are some real issues. I mean, the neighbor kid saw a drug deal going down on the bicycle path. It was 2 summers ago. You know, there's issues that happen at the park that extra eyes
On the bike path?
on the bike path.
All right, well, you know what? Okay, this is perfect for our work
Yeah.
study session. So let's.
And then, yeah, there's, in the
yeah.
summer, trash gets blown around on the lake and stuff, but that,
So-
I think it's neither here or there on the trash. It's more about security.
All right, so how about, between now and whenever we do have the session, for those who haven't been there in a while, take a ride out there a couple times and let's rendezvous at a work study session and bring this to a head and decide what we want to do, knowing full well that the town council can do whatever it wants to do as well.
Maybe we can have the work study session out there into the pavilion. How about that? That'd be fun.
Supposed to be-
I'll tell you
We
what,
have to get out of our houses.
at the top of the stairs, we're gonna do it at the top of the stairs.
Sure.
And the last one there doesn't get a vote.
I won't make it. Go ahead.
All right. So the plan is that Mark, you'll send us some dates for a work study session. I mean, an hour on Zoom, whatever time. And with that, we need a motion. Our next meeting is going to be April 6th, work study session before that. So we need a motion to adjourn, I think.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Hi.
Okay, I'm sorry, but Dan I'm just never gonna beat your record.
All right. One day.
Oh, listen, tomorrow's St. Patty's Day.